I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. Event is coming soon. YouTube channel. Here's the latest intel.
New World Order insider dies after exposing entire agenda. By N. Morgan. There are many who still don't believe there is an elite group of powerful individuals who are determined to rule the world and make the populace slaves. AKA, Cabal, Illuminati, Elite. In the audio testimony below, you will hear from a once prominent doctor who decided to come forward and expose the agenda of the New World Order. Dr. Richard Day, the then chief of Arranged Parenthood, invited Dr. Lawrence Dunnigan to one of his speaking engagements that was held back in 1969, in which 90 other specialists attended. It was made very clear from the beginning of the lecture that recording what went on in this seminar was strictly forbidden, nor were the doctors allowed to take any notes of any kind. What the other participants weren't aware of was that Dr. Dunnigan possessed a near photographic memory, and Dr. Day's hypnotic suggestion at the end of the event didn't seem to have any effect on Dr. Dunnigan. On his arrival home, Dr. Dunnigan wrote down everything that he could remember. 20 years later, he took out his notes and made sound recordings of them. Shortly after Dr. Dunnigan started dispersing his audio tapes, Dr. Day passes away. Dr. Day said in the lecture that he would be in real trouble if this information got out. In '87, when Drive Dungeon came out with the tape detailing the entire NWO agenda, Dr. Dungeon dies. He died in the same year the tape came out. Was Dr. Dungeon eliminated by the New World Order for exposing their sinister agenda? In the audio that will be presented in this article, Morris Herman, a YouTuber, 108 Morris 108, is interviewed on Red Ice Radio. He speaks about the New World Order goals. This is directly a quote from Red Ice Radio, Morris Herman. New World Order goals. October 20, 2014. The channel first made a lasting impression during the Libyan assault by NATO and often concentrates on Middle East affairs. Morris is a traveler and is also happy to engage in videos suggesting some of our news headlines are actually hoaxes or manufactured. We'll begin discussing the Ebola scare. Is this virus man-made or nature-made? Morris talks about how this can lead to forced vaccines, quarantine and loss of civil rights. Then, we'll discuss war from Slavs to the Middle East. What are the main New World Order goals? He'll talk about how they ultimately seek to destroy all indigenous way of life and how they intend to do this. Later, he speaks about decentralization to solve problems and neoliberalism versus individualism. Here's a partial list of the items covered. We can cure 98% of all cancers now, 1969. But those cures are at the Rockefeller Foundation and they will not be released because there are too many people in the world and they have to die of something. Individuals will need to get used to change. People will have to get used to the idea of change, so used to change, that they'll be expecting change. Nothing will be permanent. People are too trusting. People don't ask the right questions. The true and the expressed objectives. Everything has two purposes. One is the ostensible purpose which will make it acceptable to people, and second, is the real purpose which would further the goals of establishing the new system and having it. He often stated that, there is just no other way. There's just no other way. Population control. Authorization to have babies will be implemented. Individuals will not be permitted to have babies simply in light of the fact that they need to or in light of the fact that they are lax. Tax-funded abortion as population control. In 1969, 4 years before Roe v. Wade, he said, abortion will no longer be a crime. Abortion will be accepted as normal, and would be paid for by taxes for people who could not pay for their own abortions. The moral decay of society begins by implementing the following: encouraging homosexuality. Sex, anything goes. Families to diminish in importance. Blending all religions, the old religions will have to go. Changing the Bible through revisions of keywords. Restructuring education as a tool of indoctrination. More time in schools, but they wouldn't learn anything. Controlling who has access to information. schools as the hub of the community. Some books would just disappear from the libraries. Changing laws. Encouragement of drug abuse to create a jungle atmosphere. Alcohol abuse. Restrictions on travel. The need for more jails, and using hospitals as jails. Change. Global interdependence. To create a new structure, you first have to tear down the old. Patriotism would go down the drain. Loss of jobs, loss of security. Aside, population shifts to eliminate traditions. Hunting. Sports for girls, to de-emphasize femininity. Entertainment, violence, sex and more sex desensitization, preparing the people for human casualties. Give us the young. 80s and 90s, the Grim Reaper. Travel restrictions, national lid, the chip, etc. Food control. Weather control. Politics. Know how people respond, making them do what you want. Falsified scientific research. Acceptance of the UN. The end justifies the means. War is good, you get to be cannon fodder, keep the population down, and die a hero. Terrorism, the great tool for control. Money and banking. Big Brother is watching you, while you're watching TV. Privately owned homes, a thing of the past. Euthanasia and the demise pill. Limiting access to affordable medical care makes eliminating the elderly easier. Planning the control over medicine. Elimination of private doctors. New difficult to diagnose and untreatable diseases. Suppressing cancer cures as a means of population control. Cancer. Inducing heart attacks as a form of assassination. Education as a tool for accelerating the onset of puberty and evolution. Redirecting the purpose behind sex, sex without generation and propagation without sex. The population agenda goes further by devaluing sex. He said sex must be divided from multiplication. Sex is excessively pleasurable, and the urges are so solid, it is not possible to anticipate that individuals will surrender it. To place chemicals in the foods that we eat and in the water supply to diminish the sex drive is not practical. The technique then would be not to reduce sex movement, yet to increase sexual activity, however in such a way, to the point that individuals won't be having children. Contraception all around accessible to all. Contraception has been a hotly debated issue in the last few years. Now we can see why it is so important to the NWO to implement this practice. Contraceptives would be displayed much more prominently in pharmacies. Contraceptives would be advertised. Contraceptives would be dispensed in the schools in association with sex education. Sex education as an instrument of world government. The goal of sex education was to get kids interested early, making the connection between sex and the need for contraception early in their lives, even before they became very active. The accumulating of the new framework, he said, most likely would happen on a weekend in the winter. Everything would close down on Friday night time, and Monday morning, when everyone awakened, there would be an advertisement that the new system was set up. During this procedure and getting the United States prepared for these progressions, everyone would be busier with less relaxation time and less chance to truly look about and see what was happening around them. In this testimony of the meeting that took place back in '69, it is horrifying clear that what our society is seeing now was a planned and now being executed plot against humanity.
For additional information, please visit our website, theeventiscomingsoon.com, and our Facebook page at facebook.com/theeventiscomingsoon, your alternative news source for Disclosure and the event. Make sure you search our library of videos. You may have missed some very important information and intel. Remember to subscribe to receive updates on our new videos.
Stay tuned. We leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth and rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Victory of the light. Event is coming soon. YouTube channel.